Hello, I'm Tilly Douglas and today I'm making some coasters out of resin and I'm using craft resin. I've been using this resin quite a lot just lately and it's a gorgeous resin to use, and these are their mica powders, and I just wanted to show you all the gorgeous colours they've got. They've got so many different colours in this kit and I've decided to use royal gold and black. So I'm just cleaning out my cups and marking the level where I want the resin and the hardener, and then giving it a good mix. I have got a coupon code in the description below for 10% off this resin, so do use that because it's a good resin and I can highly recommend it. Now this is my wax melter and I use it for putting my resin on, and it helps to disperse the bubbles. I just put a tile on the top of it just so it doesn't get too hot. And I use this wax melter for lots and lots of things. I use it as keeping my coffee warm. So when I'm doing crafts, I have a cup of coffee on the go or tea, and I keep it on this little wax melter to keep it nice and warm. So I'm just letting you see here how it helps to disperse the bubbles. Obviously that was speeded up. I've just put some in 3 little pots to mix with my colours. So there's my black and my royal gold, and this is my cosmic shimmer gilding flakes, and this is red blaze. I'm just breaking it all up so it doesn't clump together, and then giving it a good old mix so I don't just have any lumps in there, and then equally measuring it out onto the centre of each of the coasters. Now this craft resin, it's heat resistant up to 200 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 93 degrees centigrade, and it has a work time of 45 minutes, which is really good. So I'm just putting some clear resin around there because I want these to be partly transparent, these coasters, so I'll put quite a lot of clear resin down on these. Now obviously if you're using anything to warm your resin, like the wax melter that I used, it does cut down the work time a little bit, so just bear that in mind. And on goes my black. And this black is just beautiful. It's given it a lovely cloud effect, and it actually, with the end result, it looks like little stones flying through the air on the coasters. It's just given a lovely design to it. Now I'm going around the edges of the coasters because I don't want any air bubbles in there, and I'm just pushing any air bubbles that might be trapped on the edges. I have done coasters in the past and I haven't done this with the little cocktail stick, so some of my coasters have had little bubbles on the outside edges which I didn't like, so I'm trying to avoid that with this lot. And on goes my royal gold, and it's such a beautiful vibrant gold. Now, I am using a torch on these, but I'm being very careful not to get too close to the mould because it's not recommended to use a torch to get rid of the bubbles when you're using a mould. You're better off using a heat gun so you don't melt your mould. Just giving a little design by using a little cocktail stick and doing some little swirls, and this is the pattern that will be on the underside of the coaster, which will in fact be the top of the coaster when they're demolded. So I used a total of 440 mils of resin for these 4 coasters. And this is just a little reindeer mould that I used to put the excess gold. I always have moulds on hand, so if I have any leftover resin I can always pour them into the mould. And there's the little reindeer, and the antlers I made previously with some other resin that I had left over from a different project, and it turned out beautifully. A little bit missing on the ear, but I really love it. Just getting rid of any bubbles. And I had intended to finish them off the same day, but I didn't get time, so I sanded them down, being careful not to damage the moulds. And that's the pen, the uni paint marker, that I come in and just do the design on the bottom. This will be the bottom of the coaster, so I just wanted to put some gold detail in there. Cleaning them off with some alcohol so there's no bits of the sanding residue left over. I want them nice and clean, and then mixing my next batch of resin using my little wax melter. And these are some little gold flakes that I've got, some little gold stones, and I honestly can't remember where I got these from. I've been doing resin for a lot of years and I've got quite a stash of these little stones and all sorts of things, but I can't remember where I got these particular ones from. I'm just showing you there how the resin has, how the heat mat has helped get rid of the bubbles in the resin. And I'm putting some resin just on top of the stones to start with, because I want the resin to go right into the stones so we don't get bubbles. And then putting the rest of the clear resin over the top, moving the stones around just to make sure there's no bubbles and to make sure that the stones are flat so there's none sticking above the resin, and then using my heat gun over the whole of the surface. Going around the edges again with my little cocktail stick to get rid of all those bubbles. I think I got a bit paranoid about getting bubbles in the edges because I really didn't want bubbles this time. So I'm just topping up with the clear resin, and I want to fill them as high as possible so they dome slightly, because if you dome them they won't get a ridge around the edges, so you don't have to then go and sand the edges to get them smooth. So I'm filling them as full as I can just so they dome, and in a while I'll be showing you how from the side view what they look like with the dome. Go around the edges again. Like I say, I'm a little bit paranoid. I wanted to go around every time I did a layer of resin, just to make sure there were no bubbles in there at all. And then just the final top up. And that's where you can see how I've domed them. So just slightly proud of the mould. And this just did give such a beautiful finished edge. I didn't have to sand the edges at all. They just looked beautiful. Now just make sure your coasters are sat on a very flat surface. Use a spirit level and make sure your surface is nice and flat. And now the moment we all look forward to, the demoulding. I just love the demoulding part. So that bottom side, which is now going to be the top, just looks beautiful. And can you see what I mean by these stone effects? They look like little stones flying through the air. No bubbles around the edge, which is really good. I was so pleased. And no ridge because we did that dome. And these moulds are from Just For You Online UK. And I'll also leave a link in the description below for Just For You Online UK. They have some beautiful moulds and their resin is really good, and they have lots of micas and all sorts of things on there. So I will leave a coupon code for you if you want to go and have a look on their site too. So I'll just turn them over because that's the best side. So they all turn out beautifully, lovely edges, and you can see the different layers there. So they all came out beautifully and all the edges look fantastic. So I was really pleased. It was worth taking that little bit of extra time just to go around those edges with the cocktail stick to make sure there were no bubbles. And there you can see the different layers, the clear layer on the top to make it so it's transparent, and then the beautiful colours of the black and the gold. The gold actually made the black a bit brown, which I think looks beautiful. And this is the uni paint marker. I go around the edges of the tiles of the coasters with that. I did that off camera to save time, and I really struggled to find a place to put these so I could video them so you could see the finished articles. I did a flood coat over the top after I put the gold on. I have got a video that shows how I do my flood coats after you put any embellishments over the top, and that's video number 106 if you want to have a look at that. I'll link that in the video description below so it's easy for you to find. And this is what I took outside in natural light, but it was such a dull day. So I do hope you'll subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and click the little bell notification so you get notified when I bring out more videos. And this is where I have them propped up on my windowsill so you can see the transparency of them. This is the effect I was going for because I didn't want that solid block of colour, and I think they turned out beautifully, so I'm really happy with them. And then I just show you the reverse side of them. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.